Thank you, Colin Shitiabai, for that particular report. Now, that same correspondent, Colin Shitiabai, also helps us look at matters, food in that part of the country, Trans Nzoia to be more specific. Kenya is staring at a food shortage yet again in 2018 in light of a projected 29% deficit in maize production. This is due to the effects of drought, fall armyworm attacks. This was in a statement made by Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mwangi Kiunjuri. Now, this worrying news is echoed by farmers in Trans Nzoia who say that unless the government provides a conducive environment for farming, then their yields might be low in 2018. Colin Shitiabai filed a report, and here it is for you.
It's planting season in Trans Nzoia County, but the region known as country's food basket has in the recent past suffered a major losses occasioned by armyworms invasion, high cost of production, and delayed payment of maize delivered to National Cereals and Produce Board.
Tungekuwa na panda try planting, lakini kufikia wakati huu hatujalipwa pesa na National and Cereals Board. Pesa yetu imekwama cereals, mahindi yetu imekwama cereals, sasa tuko kama mateka ya NCBB.
And now farmers are appealing to the government to address these challenges, to enable them increase production and ensure the country is food secure. They are requesting the government to supply them with subsidized fertilizer and seeds to cushion them from high cost of production.
Ukichelewa kupanda, serikali watazidi kuimport mahindi. Kwanza wakati huu mahindi yetu ya wakulima wetu wa hapa North Rift tumelihangaishwa na mahindi kutoka Uganda ambayo bei yao ni nafuu. Alafu sasa wamejaza National Cereals Board na wafanyabiashara, na wafanyabiashara ndio wanalipwa, lakini mkulima halisi ya mahindi hatujalipwa.
Leaders from the region have warned of food shortages in the country unless the government supports the maize farmers to secure better yields and returns.
Hii inaitwa armyworm, ilisumbua sana na ikawa tulihangaika sana, hata mazao haikufanya vizuri. Kwa hivyo serikali kitusaidia tupate pesa na tupate madawa ya kuweza kutengeneza haya mazao, inaweza kuwa ni vizuri. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri kama wanaweza tusaidia tujipange mapema ndio tujue tutapigana na hawa armyworm namna gani. So tusaidiwe na serikali.
The leaders, led by Cherengani Member of Parliament Joshua Kutuny, argue there is need for the government to prioritize the concerns by the farmers in the region, particularly the poor prices for their crop, now discouraging most of the farmers to abandon the crop for the crops that will give them better returns.
Ninataka vitu vitatu. Ya kwanza, serikali ilipe watu ambao walipeleka mahindi wakulima. Pili, tunataka serikali tutangazie bei ya fertilizer itakuwa pesa ngapi. Ya tatu, hii fertilizer itafika lini na itachukuliwa wapi. Ya mwisho, watoe masharti kama ya clinic kwa kupewa fertilizer, na mimi mwenyewe nitafuata hiyo ili wakulima waweze kufaidika. Hiyo ndio ninahitaji kwa watu wangu.
Agricultural expert argues that unless the plight of the farmers in the region is tackled, there is a possible decline of food production in the region. Trans Nzoia County produces 6 million bags of maize annually, food which could be able to sustain the country for 3 months. The country consumes about 30 million bags of maize annually. Reporting for Citizen TV from Trans Nzoia County, I'm Colin Shitiabai.
Colin Shitiabai, you will not forget that outro anytime soon, but very weighty matters that he's spoken about or reported on from Trans Nzoia. And joining us in studio to talk a little bit about where Kenya is in terms of food security and the challenges that farmers may be facing at this time and what government needs to do to make Kenya food secure. Part of one of the 4 pillars of President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four is Dr. Dennis Otieno, an agricultural economist and research fellow at Tegemeo Institute of Agricultural Policy and Development at Egerton University. Daktari, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Wahinga.
Great. I want to get your immediate thoughts to that report from Trans Nzoia.
Yeah, looking at what is happening at Trans Nzoia, what the farmers are actually asking is they need to be paid. Farmers have needs. And these farmers, if you look at the production objectives, it is commercial. That is their main source of income. So if they are paid late, now when will they be able to meet their needs? When will they be able to prepare their land? How will they be able to meet their household needs? So the government needs to actually meet its part of the bargain. That is, pay the farmers promptly. And that is what Joshua Kutunyi is putting across there. He needs the farmers to be paid. And once they are paid, the next thing that will go for is, now they need the farm inputs. As they prepare their lands, do they have fertilizer already? Do they have money to get that? And at what price will they get this fertilizer? Now, what has been happening, when you look at the fertilizer first subsidy program, when it came into being, the aim was to try and moderate the prices. Yeah? And the people who are supposed to access it were the smallholder farmers. But what is happening now? Everybody has access to that government fertilizer.
Even those who don't need it.
Even those ones who don't need it, they get it. So that is why Kutunyi is saying, now, which Masharti clinic, who to get this fertilizer?
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay. You've quickly analyzed some of the issues. Where are we in terms of the armyworm invasion from your research? Are we past the worst of it? Are we still in the middle of it? Where is Kenya's?
Actually, in terms of armyworm, we are still really in the thick of things.
Okay.
Because if you look at the situation as it was, armyworm invaded the country starting from the West Pokot region, Trans Nzoia area last year. That was the entry point. And then it got in, affected the areas of Kakamega, then later Uasin Gishu and Trans Nzoia. It is actually moving into the country. If you look at the situation right now, even the maize in Narok has been affected by the armyworm. So armyworm is there. So we are not yet out of it. And this is what increased the cost of production. Like if you look at the situation in Kakamega last year, the cost of production increased by roughly around 11–15%, simply because of armyworm control. At that time when it came in, the farmers did not know exactly what to do. So they were using trial and error. Maybe they try use ash to control armyworm. They try other concoctions, but that is what increased their cost of production. Unlike a place where you had the large-scale farmers in Nakuru who actually normally control this throughout the year. So their cost of production relative to, in terms of use of the pesticides and the fungicides, was rather low.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll come back and carry on with this discussion shortly. I just want to inform our viewer about what we are bringing to you as breaking news. Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu has been questioned by the Criminal Investigation Unit, the DCI. She has been questioned in terms of alleged incitement, remarks she made regarding charcoal traders. And of course, we know that there was a reaction in the counties. Some residents of Kitui County took matters in their own hands, confronted some charcoal traders, and in the midst of all that, even a lorry was burnt. This has caused a scuffle between Kitui County and Kiambu County, where the governor of Kiambu County has now said that Governor Ngilu needs to be probed because of this. She needs to be looked at, or her statements need to be looked at by the NCIC and the CID as well. And this is what is happening at the moment. Well, let's carry on with our discussion. In studio, we're talking about food shortage looming, and not again is the discussion here. What needs to be done to sort this? Let's talk first Trans Nzoia. We can appeal to the national government, but the national government in many ways is looking at the whole country. What can the Trans Nzoia County leadership do to step in and assist the farmers at this time? What are the small-scale measures that can make a difference to ensure that the food basket of this country is not really affected by some of the prevailing circumstances?
Thank you very much, Waiga. Now, if you look at the situation now, we're talking about, this is agriculture, and agriculture is a devolved function. It's a function that's supposed to be
primarily handled
at the county level.
Yes, that's correct.
So within Trans Nzoia area, if the farmers are complaining about the late payment, actually the issue is there seem to be kind of the national government and the county government, they actually need to coordinate now. How are the farmers going to be paid? Because NCPB is a national government thing. But the county by itself, that's where the farmers are. Now the farmers are complaining the national government has not paid them. Now who is to talk for them?
It's the county. It's the governor who needs to...
Is the governor?
Yes, fight for them, I assume.
So, actually, the governor is supposed to fight for them because he's their actual representative. But even the politicians will come in. So what we need is to have an actual well-harmonized procedure or processes that will ensure the farmers are paid on time.
Okay.
Yeah, because the key thing is payment. Because once they're paid, that's a motivation to produce.
To produce more.
Yeah.
I want to get a reaction to you. Some thoughts by Agriculture CS Mwangi Kiunjuri. He yesterday told the Agriculture and Livestock Committee of the National Assembly, Kenya is staring at a food shortage yet again. He spoke of a 29% projected deficit in maize production, and he blamed it on drought and fall army worm attacks. You work for a research institution, you lead a research institution. Talk to us a little bit about what is your research showing about where Kenya is at this moment in terms of food security. Does it resonate with what the CS said yesterday?
Our research results, which we carried out last year,
yes,
and we gave the results around early December, showed exactly what resonates very well with what the the CS is saying, Mwangi Njuri. Because when you did our analysis, what we found was that Kenya was going to produce around 32 million bags.
Okay.
That was our projection. And even these 32 million bags of maize, we were hoping that there was going to be enough maize from the lower eastern and also the Narok regions. But what have you seen? The fall armyworm has also affected these regions, and also there was shortage of maize in the lower eastern. If you could move around the lower eastern, maybe around December, January, you'd see the crops are actually stunted. So at best, we are not going to get more than 32 million bags. So there's going to be a definite shortage.
Against
and
projected how many?
Normally, our national food consumption is around 41
My goodness, so almost 10 million bags
so
shortage.
10 million bags shortage, that one we expect. And if you look at what happened last year, from the fall armyworm, we lost about slightly more than 5 million bags. So if you're losing 5 million bags to armyworm, and then in addition at the same time, our post-harvest losses around 4.5 million bags. So if you look at this, it goes to around 10 million. You can round it up.
Yes.
Now 10 million at the government price, that's around 32 billion. And we are short of that 10 million bags. So those are how many months? Those are 3 months. So for 3 months, we're going to run without maize. That is May, June, and July. There's going to be a problem. So definitely, we are running short of
How does this all tie in with the weather forecast again, that there will be depressed rains? It looks like a perfect storm. Anything that could go wrong in 2018 in the food sector is going wrong,
that is,
so to speak.
That is something that we also expect, because if you look at the production patterns, normally they tend, funny enough, they go with the election years. If you look at what happened, if you look at what happened in 2013, there was a good harvest, and then it started falling, and then it picked up around 2015. Now it came to 2017, it started falling. Now after every election year, normally there is that depressed production, and that one we expect it maybe this year. So our projection for this year, what we're expecting is that the cost of production is likely to go up, and that's an indication that we are going to have difficulty in production.
Cost of production meaning farmers will have to pay more.
They have to pay more to produce maize.
To produce what they would pay more for the same quantity of maize that they would have produced in previous years.
Exactly. Due to some unavoidable circumstances, you find you use the same resources, but then the yields, the output that you get is lower than what you expect.
How does this all tie in? And I know this might seem far-fetched. Fuel prices have also risen. In terms of what this means for the poor households in Kenya, because we've already seen a lot of complaints, and this is something that ERC, are being put on the spot about, that people living in poor households are already feeling the effects of the last 8 months of fuel prices increasing. Now, with food also being touched on as well, what does this mean in terms of 2018, a forecast for Kenya? President Uhuru Kenyatta, on one hand, promising manufacturing will increase, promising food security, etc. But it seems that the factors around, some of which you cannot control, such as rainfall, are fighting that. Is there any silver lining behind this cloud that we find ourselves in?
From what we are seeing, we've also done the projections for 2018. What is the most likely situation that we're going to have?
Okay, help us understand those, yes?
Now, in 2018, our projection had shown that, for example, if you look at what we have now, last year we projected that the price of maize was going to rise from 90, the government price that is, and it has gone up to around 112. That is the projection we gave last year. And that was given the circumstances that were going to prevail. We were looking at most likely the fuel prices was going to rise. Fuel prices, they've gone up. That is something that has come to pass. Now, we had looked at a situation whereby the armyworm, if it is not gotten rid of from the farms, it will thrive again during the dry conditions. And it is going to affect the crop once you plant. And that is most likely going to happen. Now, as the fuel prices increase, definitely we expect the cost of production to go up. Farmers will be spending more to produce, and this definitely is tied to increase in food prices, and that's why the poor households have to feel it, and they'll have to pay higher prices.
I feel like we've had a very depressing conversation over the last 10 minutes. Is there any good news that you can tell us, or better yet, what measures do the relevant ministries that deal with food security, whether it's environment and forestry, that looks at conserving environment, agriculture, what do they need to do? Because we can't have 2017 replayed again in 2018.
Actually, what good news is there, because you find that in the government planning project, they have the big four, one of which is food security. Another food security, they are focusing on large-scale production. And large-scale production, we come into things like irrigation. Maybe we have the issue of Galana, which has kind of controversial. But if you are a keen agronomist, you go to Galana, look at what the NIB team is doing. They're actually doing a good job. And our study showed that actually irrigated maize production is profitable. That when we established. In fact, we did the study just before they planted, and we had projected that they're going to get around 11 bags of maize, which is actually what they got. But then, after getting that information about 11 bags of maize, they really went back to the drawing board and worked on the selected varieties, which increased the production up to 31.
Okay.
But the question is, if you're producing 31, what was hidden was the cost of producing 31. You know, when you want to produce something, when you put in more resources, you have to pay more.
You have to pay more, that's
so,
right.
Producing 31, it must have been at a cost which is not known. But if you look at the situation as late as January, February this year, actually it's like water is finding its own level. They're coming down to around 20 bags.
Yes.
And that is what we projected way back in 2015, that the production from Galana Kulal, if you have to increase it, it will go up to 20.
Okay.
From 11 to 20.
Finally, to take you back to Trans Nzoia, to the farmers,
yeah.
If these issues keep coming up every year, what can they do collectively to change the narrative around that part of the country? Should they come together, form some sort of groups that they can collectively bargain, you know, with the national government? What can they do rather than waiting for the government to come in?
I think what has been happening is the issue is doing business with the government. Government is very poor in doing business. See that?
Okay.
The government is it's a benevolent, some kind of, it tends to help the public. So we need to get in the private sector. It is the private sector that can be able to run the maize sector, the maize subsector, on a competitive basis, so that it is the markets that determine the prices, the market that pays the farmers. That way it will work.
Okay.
Yeah. So we bring in the markets. You know, already once you put in the government into this, there are no markets. Okay. The markets actually failed.
Okay.
Yeah. So we talk about missing markets with the government here.
So we need more innovation around that.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Involving the private sector.
And involving the private sector.
Exactly.
I think that's come out quite clearly. Dr. Dennis Otieno, agricultural economist and research fellow, Tegemeo Institute of Agricultural Policy and Development. Quite a mouthful. Edgerton University, thank you for finding time to be here with us today, and we certainly hope farmers in Trans Nzoia are listening to this discussion and can start looking for other ways in future seasons to sort their challenges, even as they await the national government to intervene and the county government as well. Let's now tell you what else is happening in other parts of the country.